No, that's okay. Don't worry. Welcome everyone to the post-game lobby, where, as you may have heard already, I'm joined by Mikyx, who's still sticking around, as well as Kobbe and Rekkles. We've got a bot laner party over here, and also our 3 representatives for Worlds. Cool, you were in a suit, and Rekkles came in, and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Any compliments for Mikyx in the suit?
Yeah, he's looking really handsome.
Kobbe, indeed. Well, we're going to talk a lot about Worlds, obviously. I do want to wrap up the series. We just had the winner interview, Kobbe for Splyce. It's been a long 3 days, I can imagine. What do you think in the end went wrong in this best of 5?
I mean, I'm not sure. I think Fnatic is definitely the better team, but what could be an issue is also that it's the 3rd day we play, and after the Origin series, we're really tired. But after yesterday, it wasn't that bad because there was like a 3-0, so we felt pretty ready for today. But maybe it went through someone's mind that okay, we already won in a way, so we didn't like give it our all. But I'm not sure. Like I think Fnatic is just way better right now.
Does that worry you going forward, or do you say, hey, we have time to prep, we're going to the play-in, so this particular result is not going to weigh too heavy on us?
No, I mean, sucks to lose always, but I wouldn't take it too heavy since we're going to go through play-ins, and I'm pretty sure there's no team as good as Fnatic there at least. Maybe Damwon Gaming. But no, I think we just we know everything about ourselves now, and we have like 2 or 3 weeks to improve, and we'll be ready for play-ins. Okay, let's talk about Worlds then. You have locked in 2nd seed for Fnatic. That means you'll be going straight to the group stage. You've played play-ins in the past, right? So how do you think this is going to be, going straight into the group stage with no other stage practice before? I actually preferred playing play-ins, so we actually had, I mean, it's not like we wanted to lose or anything, but I guess playing play-ins is not that bad, at least not as bad as people think, because the good teams are so-called Pool 1 seeds, and the I guess lesser teams are Pool 2, so it's easy to avoid, in this case, for example, Damwon, and just play against a team that is supposed to be worse than you. So I think play-ins is just a really good setting for a lot of teams to figure out what they want to do on stage and get away with maybe a couple of things. And then once you get to the group stage, you're really like aware of your strengths as a team and as a player, so that you can pull off a better performance.
Yeah, I think that's...
Because I think scrims and stage are very different, so...
absolutely. I think it's like a trade-off, because on the one hand, you can go through the play-ins and then figure all these things out. But on the other hand, you're then a 3rd seed going into the group stage. So the chance that you get into a really tough group is, of course, quite high. Yep. But then again, sometimes as 2nd or 1st seed, you also end up...
Yeah, it's kind of RNG in the end, so...
Yeah, so what's going to happen then? Mikyx, you said, well, I'd actually want to go through play-ins because of that. Because when you start cold, it's not that easy.
Yeah, I mean, everyone from my team was saying how OP going through play-ins is, because well, last year both G2 and C9 got pretty far, and they both went through play-ins. So we were like even joking in the final, it's fine, even if we lose, we might just go through play-ins, or even if we win the gauntlet final, we just give the other team the 2nd seed and we go through play-ins. But yeah, it's not bad.
No. So I want to talk about expectations going into Worlds, but for a second, I'm just going to crown the Kia player of the series. That was Nemesis with 48% of the votes. We've got a breakdown even. Nemesis 48%, Nemesis 39%, and Nemesis 13%. A bit of a joke, Rekkles, but he had a good day. That must feel good for Nemi right before Worlds.
He did, yeah. I think he kind of saved us a little bit in game 1. I was having a really tough time. And in game 2, I mean, the game was a bit of a stalemate, and we're getting a little bit outscale, I would say. Like, Yuumi is really strong later, but at some point, I guess, Asir is just too OP, probably, with 6 items and a front line. So I think his flash ult in the mid lane was like a really needed play that you can't really plan for or, you know, kind of make in like 99 out of 100 games, but the fact that he made it in that one specifically was really important.
How do you think he's going to do at his first World?
Sorry, could you?
How is Nemesis going to do at his first World?
I think more than fine. I mean, people see him as a rookie, right? But he played in LVP before, I think it's called. So he has a lot of stage experience and team experience in general, so I'm not really worried. Like, I don't feel like, for example, he's a rookie. I feel like he's more of a veteran than some of the other players that are here and maybe even considered veterans, so I have no worries at all for him.
Okay, let's talk about Worlds then. Of course, starting in 2 weeks, 24 teams will fight for the World 2019 title right here in Europe. I am super hyped for Worlds. We're going to take a look at all the teams that have qualified because it's a bunch. And I'm first going to go ahead and go across general expectations. Mikyx, going back to Worlds, what are your general expectations just about playing at the event that is Worlds and kind of meeting the best teams in the world?
I mean, the expectation is, of course, to, well, make it out of groups first. And then hopefully win it all. I think we have a good shot, because I don't think any other team is like really, really insane that we can't beat. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to playing all the seed 1 teams from all the other regions. Or even RNG, for example. I think their bot lane is really good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, when a lot of people look at MSI and they say, oh, MSI was so long ago. In the meantime, G2 kind of fumbled around sometimes in the regular season. Fnatic pushed them really, really hard. What do you say to that about the peak that we're hopefully going to see from G2 at Worlds?
I mean, to be honest, with this split, we were like kind of chilling. But next week, we're going to start scrimming again. And we're actually going to like practice really hard and prepare really well for this Worlds. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried. And I'm very hyped to, well, play at Worlds again after a few years.
Yeah, it was the last time you were there was with Kobbe, indeed. Kobbe, 3 years in the making. How different is it for you to play at this Worlds than that experience when you were such a rookie 3 years ago?
I mean, I'm about to find out. But I mean, we need to go through plans first. It's not something you can just look totally over. But this time, I feel more ready, I would say. Back then, I didn't really feel ready to play at Worlds because it was like my first year, and when we got to play against the Chinese bot lanes, there was some unexpected things there that we got to learn, and we're like, okay, we have to play like this. But yeah, I'm just excited to try again because I think I improved so much since then that to see if I'm like able to stand up with like most other teams or even be better. So yeah, I'm just excited to play other regions.
Yeah, a lot of people always say when we look at Europe, Splyce is so different from G2 and Fnatic because G2 and Fnatic play at such an excruciating tempo and play so fast in the early game as well. However, we've seen that you guys can do that. What do you think will kind of be the strategy or the Splyce that we're going to see at Worlds?
I mean, I think we just have to play with confidence. That's the biggest thing. Like you saw yesterday against Sjokz, when the thing is we're doing these things like in game 2 where we won in like 23 minutes. Like we're doing these things in scrims a lot, and stage games tend to be different. And we always have a plan B, which is just farm for some items. And usually we have good champions that does well with like a lot of farm. But yeah, I think that's not like the style we're looking to play. Like we want to go aggressive in the early game, and we worked for a long time on our mid game, which I think has gotten a lot better. So it's not like we're just going to do nothing. Like we're going to get out there and try our best. Yeah,
I mean, if we look at the learning curve of Splyce throughout the year, you've only gotten better. There was this hiccup, of course, in playoffs, but now you're here and you're going to Worlds. Rekkles, I see you eyeing this graphic and all of the teams. Who do you have your eye on to play against, or maybe for the whole thing?
I would like to play against FPX. I really respect teams that have their own ideas and don't just go with the flow, like what everyone else is doing. And I feel like FPX is one of those teams that just like play whatever they want, especially in the mid lane. So I would really like to see it for myself, because I'm sure I can learn a thing or two. Obviously, don't really want them in my group, but yeah, I think just scrimming in general against like other regions and stuff at Worlds would just be a really good learning experience. It's something that's, I think, incredibly underrated.
Yeah.
For teams and players that get to play at international tournaments. Like everyone always just looks at the results of the actual tournament, right? But behind the scenes, we're scrimming every day against these guys, and we get to learn so many things that we can usually like take with us for the next year and make you just like a straight up better player or a straight up better team. So even if like the tournament doesn't always go the best for, I mean, every team other than one, there's just so much things you can learn from teams like FPX, for example.
You say other than one, but you made the final. I mean,
yeah, but it was still a failure, right?
I mean, there you go. I know that you look at it that way, which of course it is, logically, but you still fought hard to get to that final. I want to know how you step on to this stage, because you've gone through so much already with this team, and then the final is in the back pocket. Now these emotional 5 games versus G2 twice. What Rekkles are we going to see at Worlds?
I mean, I think I'm a good player, so I should be fine in that regard, but it always just depends on the group you get. Like, for example, last year, I think we were quite lucky with the group we got. In 2017, we were quite lucky as well. because we came in as a 3rd seed, and I think we got like the NA 2nd seed and Gigabyte Marines as well, and made it out of that group. For
Still
example.
have to win 5 games in a row.
Sure, right, but it's like in the end, I feel like, as I said earlier, like it's really RNG if you get a good group or not. And if you do get a good group and get out of groups, then I think honestly anything can happen. It's a best of 5 setting. You go to a different city, the pressure is on. You know, it's like really a different kind of game that you have to play than the best of 1s that we're gonna have here in Berlin. So
in terms of form and like mentality.
I mean, we're going in to win, of course. Same as every year that we play the Worlds, we go there to win. Sometimes maybe we say it a little bit too much, but I think it's a very needed confidence that all teams should honestly have. That go into a tournament like this, I feel like if you go there not to win, then you're kind of like not being fair to yourself, I would say.
Yeah.
Because we all work really hard to get where we are. And also, I think you don't represent your region well enough. Like, there's a lot of pride in every region, right? And you want to represent them as well as possible. So I think every team should just go in to win. And it shouldn't be like a question about being there to get 2nd or 3rd or 4th, whatever. Just go there to win, and if you don't, then it's a failure. I think you should see it that way.
I also think with kind of how everything has happened in the last year and a half, with you guys getting to the final, IG winning, G2 winning MSI, LCK not doing too well, it feels like everything is very open, Kobbe. Do you share that sentiment, or do you still think, no, for me, there's still 3-4 favorites, and it's going to be really hard to beat them?
I mean, I guess it's a bit more open. The difference is just that EU is actually a favorite. In that we have 2 extremely good teams and 1 with room to surprise, I would say. Yeah. I still think China looks extremely strong, like all of their teams basically, stronger than Korea. So yeah, I would say it's pretty open. I think both LPL and EU can win.
I like that you didn't say LCK, because of course SKT's back.
Maybe SKT, that would be the only team.
Is that the consensus? Because of course we're waiting for kind of that return to success for the LCK, and now they have Damwon and Griffin and also SKT with some rookies in it. What's the feeling of how they're going to perform as a region, Kobbe?
LCK?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're not gonna... It's also meta dependent, because whenever I watch LCK, it looks more like Splyce games than it looks like G2 games, for example. And I think it's just gonna be hard for them to keep up with, like, if they go into one of the top Chinese teams, for example. Or since G2 and Fnatic are playing this kind of style as well. So I think it would be, I mean, except for SKT, I think the other 2 teams might fall short, but I mean, you never know. I don't know these teams well enough.
I was going to say you never know, and Mickey, of course you remember SKT from MSI, and we have seen there that the SKT that you see in LCK might not be the SKT you face. They are really good at changing their style as a tournament progresses and picking up the meta. So how strong do you think SKT is going to be, or could be, because it's hard to say, compared to what you saw at MSI?
I mean, I think they're for sure going to be stronger at MSI. I think Khan is playing better, and I think their support effort is doing much better than Mata was doing. I think Mata was kind of underperforming at MSI. So I'm looking forward to potentially play them again and see how good they are now. And yeah, it would always feel good to beat them, because they're like a pretty big team organization, I guess.
Yeah, kind of.
So, yeah.
You know, a couple of world championships.
Would be hype, yeah.
It's all good. Rekkles, what do you think about the region's strengths, or anything about the roster?
No, I guess just same sentiment here. Kind of scared of China. I mean, they play just really fast, so if you're not willing to fight, then it's going to be tough. But we've kind of been molded with that now, since G2 has played us through that the entire year. So I think we should be more fine than maybe otherwise. LCK, I guess, yeah, plays a little bit of a slower game. They still have really good players, though, so it's not like you're going to get that many advantages, probably. So you still need to perform macro-wise. But yeah, mostly LPL is what scares me, because I feel like all 3 teams we have here in Europe are really good at understanding what needs to be done in the game. So if we don't fall behind, we can probably win. And against LPL, there's a chance of falling behind for sure.
If we talk about kind of preparation, if you're able to share and if you know what kind of the plans are, what's the plans for the respective teams? When is the boot camp starting? Where is it? I mean, it's in Europe, we know that. Do you get a bit of rest, Mickey?
I mean, I think we start in a week. We're going to go to a boot camp somewhere in Europe. Not sure yet.
Okay. Mystery location?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Nothing is confirmed yet, so I guess we'll see in a week.
You can't say it.
I guess we'll see in a week.
Good. Kobbe?
I'm sorry, but we didn't know if we were getting 2nd or 3rd seed, so we're going to have a meeting today. So I actually...
What would you like to do?
I mean, we've been playing for like 3 days in a row, so I'll need like a few days at least off, and then I'm just ready to get back to play as soon as possible because I want to be ready for play-ins.
Absolutely. Rekkles?
I think we're starting on the 24th. We're boot camping in London from the Fnatic HQ. I think the group draw is on 23rd, so I'm pretty sure we're starting the day after. And then, yeah, just, I guess, not really 3 weeks, but 2 weeks of practice.
Yeah, 2.5-ish, yeah.
Before we go to Berlin to play groups. Yeah, that's pretty much
That was the end.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry, no, I didn't want to jump in and cut you off. Very interesting. A couple of things I want to ask you about is, of course, we didn't talk about LCS yet. Of course, Team Liquid was a finalist at MSI as well. Cloud9 is one of those teams that always does well at international tournaments. And then Clutch is in there with your old teammate. Well, you never played with Tony, did you?
I did.
Oh, yeah, you did. Sorry. So, what do you guys think about the skill level of the LCS and how they're going to do at Worlds?
I would say pretty good.
Clutch is like a wild card, aren't they?
I think they play pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
They play really aggressive. I like that. I'm not sure about Cloud9. They always went through play-ins, right? And as the third seed, so it's a bit of a new setting for them. Maybe the secret.
Yeah, they need more practice.
Secret for them was actually play-ins, and now they don't have it. I don't know, but honestly, I think all teams there are more than okay. Like, I know that people really want us to like trash talk them, and they want to trash talk us, but in the end, I think they're like really fine.
I almost feel like there's more of a, now that kind of LCK has gone down a little bit and both NA and EU are doing well, it's kind of subsided a little bit. I'm not going to say on Reddit or whatever, but I mean, at least from expectation, just supportive of each other and hope for the best for the West, although it's still definitely EU and NA. There we go. Mickey, is there anything you want to say about G2 going into Worlds? You already said, well, hey, we're going for the win, but you know, there's Vietnamese teams that could get wins off you in the group stage and whatnot.
I think group stage might be the toughest one because, in best of ones, anything could happen, and hopefully we don't get a Vietnamese team. They might be rough, and also Griffin in best of ones is pretty good compared to best of fives. So yeah, I think if you get a good group, we should be fine.
It should be fine. Fantastic. A final question. In the past, you've always gone to boot camp in Korea. Vitality even went to China to boot camp. Now everyone's coming here. That means also the players will be playing EU solo queue as opposed to anything else. How will that change things, Rekkles?
I mean, if me and Mickey keep up
I heard you've been playing together.
The bot lanes, then I don't think they stand a chance.
Yeah, we'll tilt them when they come here.
Yeah.
What have you been playing in the bot lane together?
Some Fiddle Nocturne.
Played some Fiddle Nocturne, some Swain Pantheon,
Shaco
Warren Trundle. Shaco Heimerdinger. I was pretty good Heimerdinger.
Heimer was pretty clean.
Good stuff. It must be fun that you can stay in your own time zone though for a change.
Yeah, I think honestly that's the biggest reason for us at least. Just to, I mean, it's fine to travel. It's not the end of the world, but I just don't think there's enough time for it to be worth it, because you're probably going to spend like a week transitioning in the beginning and then a week transitioning back at the end. So that leaves you with what, maybe a week at best. And I just don't think it's worth it at that point. Yeah. So it's better to stay here, maximize, the efficiency of time we have, and then since some teams are coming over as well from NA, I guess.
They're already here.
Specifically,
I think some of them.
I think it's just more than fine. Maybe it's like people said, there's going to be different metas at Worlds, with the East having one and the West having one, but I honestly don't think it's going to be that bad. I think it's just people are going to play the game they think is the right way. And maybe it's a little bit different, but I don't think it will be like we play a certain set of champions and they play another certain set. It's more like maybe we play more for, I mean, it's just whatever you find like most efficient in the game.
Yeah. Mickey or Kobbe, do you have an opinion on that, on the possibility of those two different metas?
Not sure. I mean, I didn't play against other regions for a long time, so I'm not really sure what to expect. But yeah, again, I haven't really been following the past 2 patches since we've been stuck on this 9.16 patch for a long time. So I need to go home and make some work and figure out what we're gonna do. So I'm not too sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. LCK has been playing a bit slower, like usually in their own region. But we saw at the Rift Rivals when they were playing LPL, they were starting to play a bit differently. So they could just kind of start playing different as well at Worlds. But yeah, I guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Well, thank you so much for joining me, especially Rekkles and Kobbe. I know it's been some long weeks. You guys, well, of course, you played the final as well in Athens. Thank you so much. The best of luck to Fnatic, to Splyce, and to G2 Esports at Worlds. Can't wait. Gonna be super exciting. For us here, we'll soon be starting our rebroadcast of tonight's series. But first, you can join us for a look back on the first ever LEC season. For that, I'm gonna leave my guests behind, so someone will take care of you, hopefully. And we're gonna take you to a new location because, well, this has been a very, very important year for us at the LEC. Yes, they're still sitting because it was the first year of the LEC. After so many years of the EULCS and the NALCS, we now have that new brand, that new name, and everything that came with it. And let me tell you, we were quite nervous. We were actually very nervous for that to happen because right now, for the first time, we had our own identity and we wanted to carve that out. And we had all these crazy ideas. And, you know, VODs came to us and said, I want to do Flexius, I want to do Schwerius, I want to do all of that. And we said, that's fine. Give it a try because that is what the LEC was all about. And we're really happy that you have followed us for this entire year and hopefully that you've enjoyed our content. So we didn't just want to say goodbye at the last day of the regional qualifier and just leave it at that. No. In fact, we wanted to look back at some of our favorite moments of the year so far, of the season, not only when it comes to content, but also when it comes to the teams and the players that have made our league so interesting this year. And for that, it's just not gonna be me. I'm gonna walk around, you know, the whole studio with the camera. Don't worry, I almost said enough. No, I'll be joined by some of my colleagues from this year, and very poetically, it is Trevor and I, who've been there from the start. You know us, we're the oldies, but also two members who have just joined the broadcast this year. I'm out of breath. Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Welcome
So
to
then,
our new setup here.
This is awesome.
I'm gonna break a little bit of the illusion. It was hilarious watching you walk in with 5 people shuffling in front of you. The light, the camera, the cord.
The walk in those heels,
Yeah.
though.
That was
Yes. Super impressive.
So, to be clear, like, I was going to do the PGL with the World's representative, so I prepped for that, and then I forgot that I had this long walk, but I think it's fine. It wasn't probably a bit too
Nailed
emo.
it.
It was all
Nailed
good,
it.
all good. Well, we're here to talk about everything this year, and I do want to start with plays and players in general, because we've had some new players, we've had some old players coming back, and overall a very interesting league. Ender, maybe you want to start with some of the plays or players that have impressed you this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one we all remember is that Vander Tarek ult, the I'm so good, right? It's like...
It's also super cool when you think of the context that Vander came back into the LEC from the Ultraliga, you know, sort of like promoted into that spot. And Vander's a guy that I've actually been friends with for many, many years. I distinctly remember going to IEM Katowice with him and the old Rockat crew and whatnot. And it's just great to see some of the legacy names of EU coming back to the stage. It was great to see some legacy names like, you know, Gorilla and Soaz and Febevin.
Why you gotta do him like
Why
that,
do you gotta
man?
do him like that?
Didn't last, but it's one of the things is like when you think back, right? It's been a crazy, crazy year for rosters, for players, for teams.
I think it's just kind of like a perfect microcosm of Europe in general. And I think kind of like the next chapter of League in general, that you're seeing it all over the world, the fact that LCK is bringing SKT and then 2 like brand new teams. Same thing can be said for Europe. It's combining the legendary with the next generation. And I know it sounds super corny, but that's kind of like what we've all been working for and the whole point of it, which is to be a generational sport. And it feels like we're finally seeing kind of the next turning of that page into the next generation.
Yeah, and now with long-term partnership and that sort of stuff, it's like those new teams are just going to become the old teams. They're going to become like the teams that everyone knows and loves, like with Rogue and Excel coming in this year. Like those teams jumped out, you know, they had a rough start, but now they really stepped up in summer, and we're going to be with them for a long time.
I was going to bring that up as well, the fact that we always talk about G2 and Fnatic and now Splyce because they're going to Worlds, but that academy system and the ERL leagues have really given us, again, so many rogue rookies to look out for. And even if some of them had a slow start, you know, it's been good to see. Rogue made playoffs. Excel has started making a name for himself as
the
well.
Misfits Premier Squad played in its entirety on the stage because the golden oldies couldn't keep up with the new kids, right? Like, it's insane. I was also really stoked to see SK Gaming back, and especially because they were competitive in the beginning of the spring split. Everyone may remember the 2-0 against Fnatic in the debut game.
You mean the 3-0, right?
It feels like such a long time
You missed
ago.
a joke, and he said
Right?
2-0 in the same game.
I know. You see, new kids, they can't see. Caster kids can't keep up with the golden oldies as far as casters are concerned.
Do not put me in this.
I mean, Sjokz, you know, you were there with me back in Cologne watching the original
lineup.
the SK Fnatic rosters and seeing them come
Then
back.
that was
and
El
seeing-
Clasico.
El Clasico, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. But also then seeing, you know, XL and Rogue stepping up and actually finding ways to be competitive. Yes, they weren't competing for the top of the table, but they were making people work. And, you know, in summer, Rogue went from 10th in spring to 4th in summer. It's a phenomenal improvement.
Yeah, I also thought it's interesting. You mentioned, you know, these rookies coming in. Hearing the conversation on PGL where Rekkles was like, Nemesis doesn't feel like a rookie, you know, after playing in like those huge leagues like the LVP. They have incredible stadiums that they do their finals in, then go have their own like mini international tournament with EU Masters. So these players that are coming in also have tons of experience, and it just is going to continue to level up our league in the years to come.
Part of what has made the LPL so strong was its secondary league, which is now turned into the developmental league. So it was the LSPL, now the LDL. Of course, the league is massive, but it's that huge population and turnover of players, and the fact that you have a semi-professional league underneath it. And I think that's what the ERLs really mean for Europe. It's your secondary professional league that allows you to develop talent, and that's partly why we'll continue to see China and Europe rise to the top, because you are constantly bringing in new talent and constantly not only making sure that that talent is ready, but it's like hyper ready. Like they've been on those massive stage, they've seen that type of competition, and they are unlike any other rookie that you saw coming.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about all the positive, there's also, you know, the other side of that. Some disappointments, I think. We've talked about Misfits already, but all in all, I think they made a great move with them putting in that ERL team, and we're looking forward to the moves they're going to make. Rogue, that then narrowly falls out of the gauntlet and can't make it to Worlds, even though Finn had some incredible plays to try and keep him in there. Upset, which for me is such a heartbreaker again not at Worlds. I can't remember who we were talking to yesterday. Maybe it was Yumata who said he is going to get there. He's just going to need some time.
I think Gilius made a huge statement saying he thinks he might be, at some point in the future, the best bot laner in Europe.
Yeah.
But he needs time, needs some experience, needs some teammates around him that aren't going to fall short at the final hurdle.
What are you calling
which
out
has
there?
happened multiple times, right? But also the names that you just talked about, like they've all had standout plays. We actually have a list of plays, and like Humanoid is on there, Finn is on there, Upset is on there. It's crazy to think what these rookies have done and how much like more evolved they are from when the EU LCS started in 2013. When I think about new players being debuted on stage back then, I was afraid because it meant we had to figure out, how do we talk to them? How do we get them on camera?
Yeah.
How are they going to play? When are they going to choke? It was a matter of like fact. Now these guys rock up, and it's a whole of the world, it's a whole of the board game.
Can we just call that out? There's, can you do an interview for the first time ever? And they're all so great. I think in that all the teams have leveled up as well. Can we meander a little bit and talk about the teams that we're going to see at Worlds? Because we're seeing some highlights also from, I don't know if it's Splyce doing well or the Misfits.
Was this?
News, oh no, it's Humanoid doing well. Humanoid
right
doing well. Fantastic. How do we feel Splyce is going to do at Worlds?
I mean, so if you'd asked me that in week 9, I would have been like, wow, this team looks really good going in. I think we all sort of had our fair share of doubts with their series against Rogue and then the series against Origin on Friday. I got a lot more faith personally with their series yesterday. And I just think right now we've gotten so spoiled by Fnatic and G2. We're sending those teams in. We're like, oh my God, like they could potentially go all the way, right? And I think that any other year you talk to me about Splyce, I'm like, this team looks really good going into Worlds. In 2019, if you ask me, I'm like, I don't know.
I think that there's a sentiment that
Could have
after
said that
watching
in 2 words. No, I'm just kidding.
that after watching G2 versus Fnatic, a lot of people are kind of pulling the rug out from underneath Europe heading to the World Championship. And you know, I'm not thinking that it's going to be like a complete blowout that Europe are like head and shoulders stronger, but I do think it is slightly disingenuous just because of the nature of the playstyle, which when you look at someone like Splyce, like if you had a final that looked like today, Fnatic versus Splyce, the sentiment and the tone around Fnatic would be so much different, I think, and so much more positive for Europe because you can truly see how big that gap is that Ender is talking about. But the nature of those playstyles is that if you take a team like G2 or Fnatic and you drop them into an LPL game, an LCK game, an NALCS game, like whoever it happens to be, you don't get to be like, yo, time out, brah. I don't want to fight you right now. Like, let's play it slow and controlled. And that's not to try to erase over or not say that mistakes weren't made. Like sometimes they fight for the wrong reasons. Sometimes they're not fighting for anything, and sometimes they messed up those fights. But the nature of that style, and I saw it all the time in China. People would try to put the LPL teams down because they just don't understand, and it looks so messy. Be like, it's a fiesta. It's like, yeah, but when you're in the fiesta, you gotta dance, and you better make sure that you have the right steps because you don't get the time out.
I love
The
that.
thing that I find
love that.
amazing is that G2 taught Fnatic to dance because we go back to Spring Split, we got like the match of the century, we're getting super hyped. Fnatic bounce back from an awful start to the Spring Split, and then they start finding their groove, they make it all the way to third, they come back in summer, and all of a sudden this team is just doubling down and getting better and better and better. And I think of every single Fnatic G2 match that we have had in the summer split, and they are wearing some blue suede shoes, and they are willing to throw down. Is it the cleanest, most beautiful League of Legends? No. But is it a style that can win you games? Is it a style that can win you tournaments? Yes. And I'm going to go back to the original question that you asked, like, what do we think of Splyce? I'm very interested to see how Splyce are going to match up against some of the other teams. Like Kobbe just said in PGL, I watch SKT and their games look more like Splyce and not like G2 Fnatic. Like, what if Splyce are good enough to beat SKT? What if they end up and they have a slow, methodical style and they happen to do it? Now, I'm not going to say that they will, right?
Hey.
I need to see what happens in play-ins.
Don't worry, it'll get cut out, and on
then
Reddit,
be
it's
like-
gonna be like,
yeah.
But it's
Front
just,
page.
I mean, imagine that the gap between Fnatic and G2 is the same distance to the rest of the world, and Splyce are up there in the top 6, top 8, top 10. Like, it's what we're going to find out, right?
Yeah, true.
What I was going to say is that kind of on that point, I do think that having a team like Splyce that have kind of core fundamentals and that consistency in the fundamentals that they play doesn't inherently make them weaker for an international stage. I think that this series, though, they were trying to deny too much from Fnatic, and I just wish that Splyce would play their game because you throw the same punch every single time and it lands every single time. It won't always knock out the big teams like the SKTs, but I think it's good enough to make Splyce proud at Worlds, and I'm not afraid to send these 3 teams as the representatives. I'm happy it was Splyce. It should have been. They were consistent all year, and just because recency bias looks at their best of 5s and people are ready to write them off that they're trash, that they won't do it, I think that they will surprise people, and they're going to get a lot farther than people think.
Yeah, and I think also Europe kind of has a history of doing that. You know, the H2K that got to the semifinals. Doesn't matter to draw. You need a bit of luck to draw.
You win the games in front of you.
Yeah,
okay?
you win the games
They
in
made
front of you.
semifinals fair and square.
Let me ask you about this because everyone always says like, well, if you can't beat those teams, then you don't deserve to win anyway. That is not true because not all championships are created equal,
Correct.
right? And not all, and of course, ideally, you do beat the best, but if not, you'll get knocked out versus
And
them anyway.
G2 are the MSI champions after taking down Team Liquid.
Yeah.
Team Liquid
Okay.
denied
Whoa.
G2 Esports
No.
the ability to defeat IG in a BO5.
Okay, G2 are the MSI champions because they beat SKT in a best of 5.
We don't
Not
have
the
to bring
finals,
that back up.
right? But that was a given. We knew that was going to happen. IG was the real threat that tournament. So, no, but it's just,
fighting.
it's
Oh,
just it's
boy.
amazing. It's
Stop,
like,
Dad, stop!
We're riding a high right now because you two look fantastic, and we're very excited to have Worlds here. And like, just to bring us back to EU and why we are so hyped right now is like, the new name, the new studio, the new teams, the new players, Fnatic losing their superstar to G2, and then finding a guy that is almost matching Caps. Like, it's insanity when you think about it, and when you think about
You say in the
what
best
the
of
last
fives,
8
right?
months in the best
Yeah,
of fives.
yeah.
Like, if you look at Nemesis in playoffs, the fact that Nemesis was solo killing Caps like several times, the fact that his champion pool is different. It's not the same style of play, but holy crap, is it almost as impactful? You can't deny that.
Yeah, and you can't know,
how
right?
the hell does Fnatic find somebody of that caliber literally a month after losing Caps?
I also think we don't know what his ceiling is, right, Nemesis, Froskurinn, and that's what scares me and excites me for Worlds because I don't know how this dynamic of Fnatic is going to do at Worlds.
I think it's not so much, like I do want to celebrate Nemesis. I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to put him on the same footing as Caps. I do think that he got the better of Caps in the
marginally behind.
first. Where are we defining our margins? I think I want to celebrate Nemesis. I don't think we got a chance to talk to him or talk about him as much as possible.
So at the beginning of the year, he said he'd give an interview if they won the championship. So that's his goal.
Otherwise, he's like hush hush.
Yeah, hopefully at
World
Worlds we'll get to,
Championship.
or World
Whoa.
Championship,
my
whatever.
word.
Yeah.
But I do think it is credit to Fnatic, the fact that they are continuously and systematically creating world-class players. It is very clear that that organization should be trusted. They've had to rebuild multiple times. They've been successful in their rebuild multiple times. And again, when you go to Fnatic and your expectations of Fnatic, it is to win everything. I think Brox has said it best. We are a team full of winners, and even though they didn't lift the trophy, they came pretty damn close 10 times.
Yeah.
And I think it is just credit and hats off to the organization. Those are very few and far between in League of Legends. There's a reason why we only have maybe 5 of them in the world, and Fnatic is one.
That hunger defines them, I would say. Let's talk about G2 Esports then. It's dangerous. All this, oh, are they favorites for Worlds? And then Mickey also says that we're in it to win it. But I also think Rekkles has a point in that if you don't go in there, if you're a team of that caliber, thinking you can win, then what the hell are you doing anyway? But I want to talk about kind of their playoffs form and what we think, because for me, after or ever since MSI, it's been very hard for me to pinpoint their level and their ceiling, because they obviously hit it when they beat SKT, or a lot of it, and then they beat Team Liquid and lifted the trophy. But then the summer was kind of here and there. Sometimes they said they didn't put in as much. Then Fnatic matched them. Caps did a great job, but he wasn't that 1v10 player the whole playoff. So how should we interpret all of that for G2?
Okay, there's pros and cons. The pros is that G2 have an incredible ceiling. They have a ceiling unlike anything that we've seen in League of Legends for a very long time that can win them international championships, go through teams like SKT in a best of 5. That said, there's variance. The cons. Sometimes when they roll the dice, the nature of their playstyle demands mechanical excellence. And if you are not excellent on that day, as Mickey struggled in that best of 5, as Caps struggled in the first part, then you look like a fool. But the thing is we have world champions who played exactly like that. Invictus Gaming, if you go back and look at those games in the group stages, everyone wants to rewrite history and just look at that best of 5 against KT Rolster, just look at that final. Look at those group stage games. Ning runs it down several times. Like, there is a huge level of variance, and it's now the perfect storm. Does the meta come together? Do you have the players popping off? Do they have the confidence? So can G2 win it? It is not an outrageous statement to say that, yes, G2 can win Worlds, but it needs to come with the temper of their playstyle demands that they're perfect on the tournament.
All the time. I guess is essential.
I think it's interesting too, because I feel like with a team like G2, we don't actually see the real G2 every weekend. Because I don't think that they actually, like, they don't go into a regular weekend of LEC with the same level of intensity that they did against Fnatic, let's say, in the finals like that. So when you say, you know, they had a lot of variance during the regular season, or we didn't really know, like, fully what to expect of them going internationally, I think a lot of that is we just didn't know what the real G2 was. And I think you wait till moments where you're down 0-2 against Fnatic in a best of 5, and that's where real G2 comes back. And all of a sudden they turn it around, they slam them in 3 quick 20-minute games, or 2 rather after the game 3. And then that best of 5, yes, there were still individual mistakes that I think they do need to clean up before they do go to Worlds, but it is in these series where we see the full potential of G2.
It's when the backs are against the wall and the stakes are the absolute highest, this team doesn't crumble.
No.
That's the thing. Mickey played awful for the first 2 games against Fnatic in round 2. And many of the G2 members did, to be fair. But they go down 2,500 gold at 15 minutes. They've never won when they're 0-2 down. Fnatic have never lost when they're 2-0 up. And all of a sudden, this team finds a way back in. They punish a mistake. And that is the mark of a true champion, is that when you are in those situations, you find a way back in. SKT have been doing it for years. And it's the reason they have so many world championships.
And, you know, we haven't even said his name, but Perkz, we've heard many members also credit Perkz for that resilience in that moment. He's practically untiltable. And for a second, I'm going to put this show hat off and let myself be the fangirl 100% and think about, you know, Perkz and his journey, and if he would be able to complete it and lift the Summoner's Cup. I think that would be the greatest feat any Western player, if it not already is, what he's shown so far.
He's the most successful European player in our history.
Yeah.
He has won 6 out of 8 splits he has played in. He placed second in the Nether, and then he won the regional qualifier in the one playoff run that didn't work out. He's made MSI finals and won MSI finals. He beat RNG with Hjarnan and Wadid to make world semifinals.
He won V10 actually.
I'm not being funny, but there is simply no player in our region that is more successful than him. Go look at his win percentages. Go look at the fact he's done it in 2 different roles. He has accomplished more in this 1 year as a bot laner than Rekkles has in his entire career. I mean, it's difficult to comprehend because he's still freaking playing.
Yeah, I think this contentious because obviously you don't want to disregard all the titles Rekkles has in Europe as well.
He's
but
more
it's
winning
impressive.
than him, is what I'm trying to say.
It's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the start of it, right? Last year, the music video Rise, he was playing Yasuo. He got cut down. This year, he's going to be the one hosting the trophy.
Okay, well, we'll see. I'm going to cut the world's discussion short here unless anyone else wants to add something.
The only thing that I want to add is I know that sometimes players get a bit scared to really show their personality just because the closeness to the community and the immediate response that you can get from it. I absolutely love that Perks talk shit. I love a trash talker. I love a player that's confident enough to tell you that he's going to beat you and then slam you doing it. And like we can say, go on for days about how talented he is as a player, his trophy case behind him. But the things that I truly love about G2 and Perks is that they'll let you know that they're going to absolutely dumpster you before they do it. And that's something that sports needs. And that's something that should be celebrated and not shut down. So Perks, keep talking shit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love it. And, when they don't win, they just take it. They make more memes. It doesn't matter. So I love it. Good job there on G2. And actually, good job on all 3 teams going to Worlds and all teams in our LEC this year. I do want to move on in just a little bit and talk about the broadcast. Talk about, I was saying it in my strut over to the couch, but things have changed, Trevor. After so many years of the same, it was different.
It was, and for any of our longtime viewers, please go back and watch the very last PGL of 2018 EULCS. You and I knew that the name would be changing. We sat on the stage in the director's chairs. We invited all the fans up, and we were very careful with our language. For the last time, the EULCS.
People were like, where are they going?
As a goodbye to EU, and it wasn't picked up by too many people, but it was a good way to say goodbye. They
thought you were quitting or something.
That's what they thought we both were, actually. But then you look forward to this year, and we've got a rebrand. We've got brand new faces in a permanent capacity. Of course, Ender was with us in summer last year, and Frost joined this year. We've got new teams. We have new content ideas. ReadyCheck and PGL become their own things. We have the craziest caster ads. We invent a freaking VODs expanded cinematic universe, which the amazing thing about that is VODs came up with 1 or 2 ideas initially, and they were so successful and we laughed so much that the rest of the broadcast team were coming in on a nearly weekly basis going, I've got another cousin to pitch. I've got another idea. It got to the point that we actually had to have a sit down and be like, can we stop with the VODs characters?
Yeah,
like, we love it, it's fun, but seriously, we're hitting maximum VODosity. But it's really cool, and it feels really, really great that the team has had so much faith and trust, and the fans at home are supporting us with their views and their likes, and we get to do it more.
Yeah, I agree. I think the kind of slogan is every idea has merit. We'll try it. And for you at home, I know you're saying, I really hated this or this or this or this. We know sometimes we go overboard, but you got to do that to find the gems. So I'm going to ask you what your favorite broadcast moments were from this year. Ender. I mean, actually, you can go, but I think that all the stuff you pulled was absolutely hilarious. You bring like a sort of humor that might be like foreign to a lot of people that are watching and kind of new, but it's so
the best way to describe it is probably just weird champ.
Hold on. I'm gonna let you finish in a moment, but we actually need to give a lot of praise because Ender's one of our like mainstream comedic writers.
Yeah.
A lot of the funny segments and a lot of the jokes like come from you and from your brain, and you've got such a wit with it, which is why I think like things like LEC updates and Between Two Ivans are so successful. So
the thing is, Ender is actually like the personification of Twitch chat. He's like that core demographic.
True.
It is so absolutely true. So if Ender ever comes down, like he's always a soundboard, we'll turn and be like, Ender, what do you think of this idea? And he'll like, we know if Twitch chat will like it depending on Ender's reaction to it.
We're
not giving you too much power, chat. Erase that.
I do speak in like poggers and PogChamp.
He does. It's really embarrassing.
Stuff.
He's like exactly like that in real life. But what's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment. Endy. Okay, my favorite moment. Honestly, I love doing LEC updates.
Me too. I'm so glad you said it.
Good job. We're the best.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. From like writing those segments and like the first time we did it, it was so different.
Everyone was like, what?
Yeah. And I still remember we were panicking because the cameras were like just barely off before that first run. So like 2 minutes left on the clock. We're freaking out on the desk, like wondering if we can even do this thing. But then like the lights rolled and then we just got in the groove.
So much
we
fun.
roasted some teams and it was great.
Oh, we even have an intro. Big kudos to you because Ender did write most, if not all of it. So
You had some jokes in there.
That
I'll
is
give you that.
something important to know. LEC update's done live.
Yes.
Obviously, some of our stuff is like pre-recorded, but just so people know at home, it's for a different energy and a different feel. Like when we do it live versus when we do pre-recorded things, you seem to kind of like ride the high a little bit. But making sure that they hit their camera angles correctly is very impressive because it goes very fast. It's a very different setup from the show. Normally, we don't look directly at the camera.
That didn't work today.
They don't get
I
a
laughed
chance.
so
They don't get
many
a chance
times.
to laugh or smile because the moment you break character, you are screwed. It's so hard to get.
I
back
do
on
love
track.
it though on
And then you
SNL update as well
sprint.
though when they smile. But yeah.
Andrew like rips off his suit, your news anchor suit, and then you like sprint back over to the
and then
16
put on
wall.
the like horse thing today.
Yeah, no, that's the best. I had to put on the horse thing. But the best or the funniest thing about LEC update for me is it's literally the only time you will ever find me wearing a suit. Like literally the only
Bomber
time. That's the
jacket
only
central.
segment. Otherwise, it's just bomber jackets all the time.
By the
Yeah.
way, did we actually play the video of us dancing after we won MSI yet?
I don't know if we
Because
can't see it.
The actual
so I don't
setup
know.
that Ifya was going for when she said, "What's your favorite moment?" He was meant to say, "I remember the dance," but he didn't because he's useless.
I
Are you
remember
see
the
it there,
dance.
or-
If we can
Oh,
get the
it's
video,
playing now, but we can't
it's
see
playing.
it.
Watch Ender dance. Like he busts a move. And
It's so embarrassing.
I look like Leonardo DiCaprio in the
I look
Wolf
like
of Wall
Theresa
Street.
May.
It's awful.
You look like Leonardo
The dance,
DiCaprio.
nice.
Is that, oh, okay.
Genuinely,
Is that what you
genuinely,
just
I
said?
watched his dance and I tried to copy his
I think
moves.
you're very handsome,
That's what I should have
Trevor.
said.
Just
Listen,
knowing
Jack
that.
Nicholson.
The joke is sitting here, right?
Sit back, Leonardo.
What is that?
Honestly, you look great for someone who's 50 years old.
Thank you so much. I know. Especially in the pool.
Frosk, your favorite broadcast moment. Also, by the way, Frost comes over. We're just gonna let that one slide. Frost comes over, and you get dropped into this craziness, like all these ideas constantly. You're probably like, I actually want to analyze, which has also been a criticism. Sorry about that. So, how have you found, and what have you found your favorite broadcast moment?
My favorite broadcast moment was, I think, the MSI celebration, the dance, simply because I kind of got two runs at it. After LPL won MSI, unfortunately, you're not dealing with the most resources over on the LPL secondary English broadcast. And I just remember being like, there's so many things that I want to do because this is a moment that literally does not happen like ever unless you're in the LCK. And so to get another run at it with the LEC and to see how it was executed, not only with like what I think was legitimate like celebration of such a momentous occasion, but then also putting that LEC twist on it. The fact that Ender comes out of a tent.
Why not?
Forgot about the tent.
Oh, to start with, we all started in that tent.
Yeah.
There was like during the rehearsal,
That may have been my idea. I remember pushing
it was
a
an
score at the
awful
time.
idea.
It was so funny. Every single caster inside the tent.
Fit in the tent.
And at one point I did fart. It was awful, but behind the scenes stories that you don't get to see. And like,
Or you
we're
can
very
check out my
close.
YouTube channel. You can actually see everything that happens in that tent.
Hashtag
Oh,
sellout.
And also my
masterful
Twitter.
plug.
Nicely done,
Masterful
nicely done.
plug. Yeah, Trevor.
I actually have a lot of special moments, and I think one of the things I want to do before we get to those is just give a shout out to the production team that allowed the special moments to happen. Something that I don't see enough in socials and on Twitter and Reddit and Facebook is an acknowledgement to the entire team behind the camera. To the producers, to our publishing team that give us money to put Dracos in a bathtub with FLICKR, to give a stylist shoot with Splyce and Frosk, to put him in a tent, you know, and, it's been an exceptional year. It's a year that I think our entire office and our entire broadcast team and production team and everybody is happy with. And it's something that without them pushing us and making it better and giving us permission to do it, the exciting thing about the cast ad, just as the last anecdote, was
No, go ahead.
the first time they were pitched, the managers, the producers in the room were like, so Dracos is in a suit in the bath and this is funny? And we're going,
Yes.
and they're like, really? And we're going, okay, but it's your head on the line. the reception is so strong, they came back less than like a couple days later and said, can we do more? What if we wanted to do 8 videos? We want to do them like all along. And every single thing that's been successful and that has been picked up and appreciated by the community has given more credence for us to do it again. And it's probably the thing that I'm going to remember the most about this year.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to go too far in this, but, you know, EU production memes and stuff, it takes a lot to turn memes around, whatever they may be. And I think we've talked about this before, Trevor, but that hit us all, us in front of the camera, but everyone behind the camera very hard, you know, because we knew we wanted to do better for everyone that was watching. So it's just so cool that hopefully everyone is happy. That's at least the sentiment I've seen on social. And it doesn't mean it can definitely still improve. Absolutely. But it's been a good year.
How about a pleasant surprise that none of us would expect?
Yeah.
The love from fans for Medivedi. Because let's be honest, if we were to have made bets at the beginning of the year that Medivedi style, I wanted to use the word cringe, but I changed it. Medivedi intros would be a thing that would be celebrated, appreciated, that you two both have opted into in tricasts with Medivedi and had fun with. Like, I'm
Well,
pleasantly
usually they just
surprised.
left me out, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Hang on. I think we're going to watch one.
Are you ready, Frosk?
Aye, aye, Captain.
I can't hear you.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Who's your favorite casters in the LEC?
Medi, Vedi, they're dashing, they're funny, they're singing for free. Medi, Vedi,
If this euphoria isn't your dream,
Medi, Vedi, we need your affection, so don't mute the stream. Medi, Vedi,
it's Medi time. Let's go, League of
Absolutely love
Legends.
it. I absolutely love it. I die inside every time I watch it, but I still love it. And it's great to see how both of the two of them have also grown over the course of the year. You know, we've got the 4 of us sitting here at home, or the rest of them at home. And Vedius, his growth as a color caster has been fantastic. And for Medic, his first ever road show. And he absolutely nailed it in Athens. He did make me laugh, though. We got back to the office on Wednesday, and he said, Trev, you didn't warn me. I was like, what? And he goes, well, after that series, after games like that, what's the point of life anymore? You know, like
I know.
everything's downhill. And I laughed so much because he was prepping for OG Splyce, and we knew what it was going to be like.
That was a
shaping
great
it,
5-game
but
series.
It's really cool, and I'm super stoked. And we haven't talked about Dracos yet, but he's also a big proponent in the content we do. And I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of the production squad. I'm proud of the cringe. It's awesome.
Weaponized cringe. What was it?
Weaponized
That
cringe.
was the single best Reddit comment that describes everything. And I think, I don't know, it's cool that we know that we're trying to do our best. It's not particularly not everything is for everyone.
Yes, exactly.
And that's fine.
I'm remembering a Reddit comment that called Vedius a shit goblin.
A what? A what?
Oh, Frosco.
Can you say that
You
again?
were really dragging that
Are you allowed to say that?
Vedius and I laughed about it for at least 45 minutes. Whoever made that comment, thank you so much. It brings joy to my life.
Expletive golem.
Oh, I
Yes.
see.
Yes.
Well, he does laugh at it.
You see, there we go. Now
But
we've
we
got
never read Reddit, guys. Just kidding. Yeah, I think we're gonna close it off then for now, unless anyone
That's
else
the
wants to
hype.
drop another F-bomb or an S-bomb.
I have one last thing. I
Yeah.
know I have been a little bit like bigger picture and grandiose, but just a shout out to everybody at home that actually tuned in, that watched, that you know, gave us thoughts and feedback, everywhere, that reacted to the crazy things that we did, that appreciated the serious things that we did. We took a lot of bold calls and brave choices this year, and it's resonated. And you know, without everybody watching at home, wouldn't be able to do it.
That's true. I promise not to get emotional, but this has been our last LEC show of the year of 2019. Of course, Worlds is on the horizon, and it is in Europe, so you're going to be seeing a lot of us. But at least symbolically, this will be the last show we have done for the LEC in 2019. So I want to thank my guests for reminiscing about the year that has been. And all we can do is look forward to Worlds and also already to LEC 2020. We can hardly wait. Thank you so much for your support this year, and yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks.
Ready, 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 ready. spawned by Hilly's taunt. Now the turnaround into Nemesis. This is a split fight. There's Kai'Sa jumping in backline. Humanoid will go down, but he takes Rekkles with him. Nemesis running for his life. He needs time to get the Twin Fangs out. He keeps firing and sprinting. That's a dead Broxer. Now the turnaround is Xerxes. Not going to be enough. But look at that! Nemesis is melting Splyce. He's already got 2. Flash is available to him if he wants to chase. And he does. Twin Fang of the Twin Fang. And Fnatic will take game 1 in this series. Started with Cassiopeia. Very highly recommended. As Nemesis flashes forward, gets the petrifying gaze. And Splyce are absolutely obliterated. Paranoid's buying some time. There was a recall as Kobbe's looking to stop it down. All of a sudden, Humanoid is out. Xerxes in the pit, and Xerxes down. Baron is secured by the cat of Hillisang. Nemesis will go golden for now. The rest of Fnatic rock up, and they will take the series 2-0 for now, and are 1 win away from guaranteeing the group stage.
Just in terms of CS, that full wave gets pushed into spot lane.
Oh my word! Absolutely everything in the kitchen sink thrown at Kobbe and Froskurinn. Absolutely the case, and Splyce, 3rd best team, looking like the 3rd seed at Worlds. They will get engaged on, take out Hillisang for now, haven't yet lost a member. Finally, Froskurinn goes down. The attention turns to Humanoid, who is popped, and Fnatic book their ticket to the group stage at Worlds, while Splyce are joining the playoffs.